I did not want to be recognized as the greatest disability theater that ever existed. I wanted to be the greatest movie theater that happens to have this mission of meaningful employment. We help people who cannot see a movie with our immersive technology. So I invented this way of watching movies that I call seeing blind. I go in with the headsets on, with blindfolds, and enjoy the movie in that way. You really do gain more empathy, and you do feel the different brain pathways in your mind open up. The one thing that I did wrong with the Prospector, it cannot be replicated, it cannot be scaled. Popcorn, on the other hand, creates many, many jobs. Tiny kernels, anybody can have and anybody can turn into their own kind of employment.
All of a sudden, we're hit with COVID. Everything shuts down. Tell me about how you felt and how you navigated through that crisis.
COVID was absolutely devastating. So we closed our theater down a few days before the mandates to shut down because we had people with underlying medical and people who were extremely vulnerable to whatever this COVID was, which we really didn't even know what it was at the time. So we made the executive decision to shut down a few days before the mandates and made a commitment at that point that we were going to keep, before PPP or anything was a thing, that we were going to keep everybody paid. And it was absolutely devastating because all of these people, all these wonderful people who I employ, who we had taken out of the darkness, who we had taken out of their basement, we had taken out of their cycle, their chains of loneliness and their despair at not being included meaningful in life. And all of a sudden, everybody was back to the darkness. And that was something that we could not sit back, we could not watch. We needed to act, and we needed to act quickly. So what we did was all of our 120 employees on technology and on Zoom and on Google Meets taught everybody how to use this technology. For some people with cerebral palsy and mobility issues who had trouble muting and unmuting themselves, just inventing these peripherals so that people could be part of it. And we invented all sorts of curriculum, all sorts of games, learning. We created a massive art project that we did during this time just to keep everybody active. We were having everybody watch movies, having movie discussions, having all sorts of breakout groups just to keep people engaged, keep people going, through the darkness. And that helped to save a lot of people who were just absolutely trapped. And it was a really, really cool project I came up with. So I always had a problem with sheltered workshops. Sheltered workshops being just programs that some communities would install and just show up and just do mindless, meaningless. And one of the most famous cases of this was where people with disabilities for like 20 years, they were just going into a basement and just sorting buttons. So every day for hours a day, everyone is just sitting at this table, just sorting buttons. At the end of the day, all of those buttons in that bucket would just be mashed, but just thrown back in together. And then the next day they just showed up and just sorted buttons over and over and over again. So that was always just like a bane of my existence that even ever happened. And then while I'm like racking my teacher brain, what is something meaningful that we can all do that would be, that we could afford to do something that was accessible? What could we do? Sorting buttons. I turned that into a unbelievable artwork. So what we did was I went on eBay and I bought every granny collection of buttons that was on the market on eBay, just 5 pounds of buttons and the buttons that come in those, those cookie tins and whatnot. And we would have bags set up outside of the Prospector Theater, and I gave everybody muffin tins. And then we would Zoom on, and then we would be chatting about things, and everybody would be sorting buttons and by color into these muffin tins. And then we would collect them again, then we would sort them into just to get color gradient, keep sorting the buttons. And then we made this gorgeous rainbow sparkle on, which is our line piece of artwork that is now in the lobby and able to kind of take that button idea and turn it into something meaningful. And that's something that the sheltered workshops could have been doing that whole time. If they had just taken it an extra step, they could have been creating artwork. They could be selling the artwork. They were able to take something from a dark area of the past and make it into this just beautiful spectrum of light, color, and design, which proudly hangs on the walls of the Prospector right now.
Wow. Well, Val, there's no bigger mega superstar than Ryan Reynolds. How did he choose your theater to launch an important documentary on John Candy? And what's his passion around your theater?
In 2024, I got a call and they said, Val, Ryan Reynolds and his kids are in the theater. They're here to see a movie. I said, what? They said, you got to get over here right now. So, I drove to the theater. And so we got to meet Ryan Reynolds. And he said this is his favorite theater. He loves to come to the Prospector Theater. He loves to bring his kids. And what I loved about Ryan Reynolds' presence there is something that was just a goal from the get out. When I was looking at my goals, looking at what I wanted the Prospector Theater to one day be, I did not want to be recognized as the greatest disability theater that ever existed. That is not what I want to be. I want to be the greatest movie theater ever existed. I want to be known for our customer service, our pink glove service, as we call it. I want to be known for our cleanliness. I want to be known for the spectacular programming that we have on. And we really got that award when Good Morning America came to us right after pandemic and came and gave us an award for being the greatest movie theater. And I love that we are the greatest movie theater that happens to have this mission of meaningful employment. And that just means that we are like total inclusion immersion is what we have there. And again, our people with disabilities there, they're not just like decorative accents or throw pillows, or they're not there for diversity and inclusion. Not at all. They are there because they are the greatest workers in the world. And they are so dedicated and they care so much. And when you have a staff like that, you will attract greatness. You will attract anyone from just an anyday person. And it's funny because we do so many amazing things. I mean, we help people, who cannot see really, like see a movie with our immersive technology and what we're doing. And we literally help save people's lives with what is the, and then we post all this stuff to social media and we get like, so many views. And then someone like Ryan Reynolds comes in and all of a sudden like our social media all blows up and stuff like that. But it is a great way to show people just what every day looks like, and the passion and the promise of what we offer. We have become role models and we've become a standard of excellence in the disability employment space. And it validates us that people like Ryan Reynolds will come in and do an event there. So when Ryan Reynolds was going on his John Candy tour, he had said to his tour manager, I insist that we will start this movie run at the Prospector Theater. And we're small, we're a 4-screen movie theater, but our largest house is 160 seats. And so that was the theater that we were going to screen his documentary. And his production company's coming. They're saying, we'd really like him to zip line in. Well, we're not, because most of the other theaters, 1,000-seat theaters or whatever. Well, it's not really a zip line in kind of thing. So it was just a small venue, but we really showed that world-class people who work with us. So, who also have Down syndrome and autism and cerebral, but we are world class, and it is beautiful to be able to be, seen as that, and that people are coming and people are seeing it in that way.
Wow. Well, I'm really excited to introduce you to some new folks in R360. One of them is serving more children in the United States with autism, which, it would take states like 2 years to get them into a program. He will get them tested within 2 weeks. Within 1 month, they're in a program. He has 5 daughters. One of the daughters has autism. So he really did this to kind of solve a problem and just said, this is freaking ridiculous. So he's been at it. And then there's a new couple in Mexico that he's a real estate builder, but he's built 2 orphanages. He wants to revolutionize education. And he took me to a dinner where you walk in and they blindfold you and they sit you with people that you don't know for like 2 or 3 hours. And the host is a guy that's been blind since he was 11 years old. He was in a car accident. His body was burned. He has like 2 fingers on one hand, 3 on the other. And you have to eat, you have to meet people, you have to talk. At the end, somebody's playing the piano like so beautifully. And when you finally take off the blind, he's playing the piano. It just kind of blew your mind to, it's the first time I'm like, damn, I'm so grateful that I can see. And, how inspiring, it just gives you this different perspective.
Absolutely. I went to an immersive dinner like that myself in Davos, and I was absolutely blown away by that experience that you're just describing right there. And so I adapted that into something that I do. It's called Seeing Blind. So every movie theater under the Americans with Disabilities Act and under the Technology Acts, every movie theater is required to have adaptive technology for people to come in and see. And so it's really, really cool technology. So narrative description is one of these things. So every single first run movie that comes out in the United States has to have a narrative description track on it. And so it's just headset that you wear. And the narrator is describing what is happening on the screen. They do not give you any information that you do not need. If it's the ocean, if you're watching the ocean, you hear the ocean waves. So it's not going to say on the screen you're going to see the ocean. It just describes, but it describes to you exactly what is happening, leaving out anything that is not relevant to the script. So I invented this way of watching movies that I call Seeing Blind, where I go in with the headsets on, with blindfolds, and then sit and enjoy the movie in that way. It's a completely different way of watching the movies. The first time that I did it was for one of the Jurassic movies, and so just with what was described to me, I was able to enjoy the Jurassic Park within the context of what I know. And I know, my woods and my outside, and I know my colors are hot pink. So in my mind, that whole movie was set in my own backyard with dinosaurs that looked like mine. It was a completely different way of seeing it. But but when people do that activity, and it's a difficult activity for many people to do. Many people cannot sit there with the blindfold on and with the headsets on for the full time, 20-minute chunks and whatnot, just so students and other people coming in to engage with this can enjoy it. But when you're able to, you really do gain more empathy, and you do feel the different brain pathways in your
Yeah.
mind open up. And it is the importance of including everybody in these different activities. So I invite you anytime, Charlie, come on over and you could see
Oh,
the
I'd
next,
love to.
but you're going to see it with a blindfold on and watch it blind. So one of the things that the Prospector Theater really specializes in is that I'm not aware of any other movie theater that tests this equipment and that goes through a rigorous process of reviewing these movies, holding the studios accountable for like lags in the script, or if they're leading, if somebody's watching this blind just with the headsets on and it's confusing and people don't know what's happening. The studios need to hear about that because they need to be held accountable. I've got several low vision and blind people on staff, and one of their jobs is to sit, watch the movies, and review and evaluate these narrative tracks and give feedback to the studios. The movie Lion, which is a fantastic, fantastic movie that came out years ago, there's a lot of subtitles on it. Kenny, who was reviewing it, was just absolutely lost for about 45 minutes when there's subtitle. There's just, they're speaking in foreign languages and could not catch up. And so the studios need to hear about that. I'm not aware of anyone else going to those extremes. Many theaters that you go to, they won't have the equipment. Their staff is not trained on the equipment. The batteries are dead or it does not work. Before every single movie, my staff checks out all of this equipment, understands the equipment. Anybody comes in and needs the equipment,
Wow.
it is ready for them, and we go right with them to their seats to go and to help them, because movie going should be accessible to everyone.
No, I agree. And what I want to talk about that you haven't mentioned yet, because you created an addict in me, is your damn popcorn.
That
What
popcorn,
the heck is
that
like you
popcorn.
have like the best popcorn, but you have like 20 different flavors. Like, tell me about that. And I hear you're like launching a popcorn factory.
Building a
What's
popcorn
going on?
factory. It is decadent, indulgent deliciousness, which is, we know that it's not easy and accessible for everyone to get to Ridgefield, but you can really taste the sparkle of the Prospector Theater in every single bag of popcorn that they eat. So it's all caramel based, and then we put the flavoring on top of it. It's fun to make, and it is absolutely extraordinary and delicious. So to this time, we have been producing it in a 300 square foot kitchen, just using every single square inch of our kitchen to be able to produce that. And we have gotten into 400 hotels and some local stores. And we're ready to launch it big. So very soon we are going to be able to produce 1,200 bags an hour of this in
Wow.
our beautiful new state of the art factory, which we are launching, which creates so many more jobs, so many more opportunities. In this economy, in this climate, and the way that movie theaters work, the one thing that I did wrong with the Prospector was it cannot be replicated, it cannot be scaled. It is just too difficult to build and capital intensive to build a new movie theater. Popcorn, on the other hand, creates many, many jobs. And I've got a beautiful story about a gentleman who worked for us for about 5 years, who's great in the movie theater. His family moved to St. Louis, and he did not have any opportunities in St. Louis. I mean, it really is still difficult for people with disabilities, even with who have had jobs, to find employment. No movie theaters would even give him a call back off of his applications. So we sent him a box of popcorn, 20 bags of popcorn, and he got a table at his local farmers market, sold out instantly, and now bigger boxes that he's going out and selling. Also, I gave some students with profound autism a tour of our popcorn facility. They went back to their school, and again, they sold out in 20 minutes, and now they're getting more popcorn so they could be out there selling. And so I just see this as popcorn, these tiny kernels, as something that anybody can have and anybody can turn into their own kind of employment.
If you go to prospectorpopcorn.org, you can get like the most amazing popcorn. I mean, and crazy, like gingerbread and peppermint and frosted vanilla and classic caramel and chocolate toffee.
Belgian chocolate toffee is our number one seller, and also our buffalo cheddar for the convenience stores and the hotel.
You have a cheddar and caramel too. That's amazing.
There's a cheddar caramel, and then so I also make maple syrup over here at my farm, and so there's a gemstone gold, which is maple syrup, and recently I just added jalapeno to it, which gives it that sweet and spicy kick. I'll send you some bags,
Wow.
Charlie.
Oh,
It is
I'd love, well,
absolutely
my,
extraordinary. And
wow.
and maybe I can kind of, you asked earlier about like how I learned the theater, how I learned the theater business, and how I had to learn that industry. And I think I can kind of summarize that just by telling you about popcorn.
Yeah.
I back in maybe 2013, 2014, I went to popcorn school in Texas, and there's this
What?
man named Popcorn Papa, and he would take you in, you go to popcorn school, and you can learn how to make all this decadent. We were making zebra popcorn, caramel based, dark chocolate, white chocolate drizzled on top, all these like extravagant things. And that's really where my idea for Prospector's Gourmet Popcorn started. And then, now we're building the factory and whatnot. But so I understood all of that part of the business, but I didn't understand where popcorn came from. I wanted to understand from the seed to wherever it goes out in the universe, where it came from. So I planted my own popcorn. And I don't know if you know all of this, but popcorn and regular corn are not the same corn at all.
I did not know that.
They're completely different. So if it's a different seed. So I planted my little popcorn field, and it was tiny. I had like 30 popcorn plants, and so I got to watch the whole popcorn grow. And again, it looks much like corn, but the amazing seed, that the seed knows what to do, and the seed can do this. First of all, it starts with the roots, and the roots have to be very sturdy because it's got to hold up those corn stalks, which are formidable. I learned that each of the silks on the corn needs to get pollinated by kind of the feather fascinator that's on top of the corn, and each of those becomes the kernel. And the reason that popcorn is different than regular corn, and that popcorn becomes the magical thing that we know as popcorn, is because moisture and water get trapped in that hard casing. When you let the popcorn dry out, the
Right.
popcorn kernel as you know it. And so when the water gets trapped in there and then you add air to it, that makes the explosion that makes popcorn pop. And so that is why you have that little burst and you hear pop, 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 pop. It's from the moisture that comes in there. But Charlie, it was the funniest thing when I started growing the popcorn, the silks on the popcorn, they were hot pink. It was
What?
like biomimicry. I couldn't even
How,
believe it. And this
but
it
how did
just
that happen?
this is just part of what it is in nature. But I
Wow.
saw myself in that popcorn. But it really was, when I'm learning something and I hyperfixate, and that's part of my own being on the spectrum. I needed to understand with my own hands, with a tiny seed, from the ground up to the top. And I think is what absolutely everyone should be doing. Just hyperfixate, become an expert on what it is that you have. And it is absolutely magical. The amount of people that I've been able to teach the biology of popcorn to, whether they want to hear it or not, has been absolutely wonderful. And I learned that there are so many people who just, don't even realize where popcorn comes, or don't understand or realize where food comes from altogether. And I think it is magical to be able to take children, absolutely anybody, and show them how things grow, because it is a metaphor for every single thing that you're going to be doing in life.